Reese, Assistant Director of the William J. Hughes Center for Public Policy here at Stockton. I'm joined by my co-moderator, Nicholas Huba, Digital Editor for the Press of Atlantic City. The Hughes Center and the Press of Atlantic City are proud to be sponsoring tonight's debate between the candidates running for New Jersey Assembly in Legislative District 2. We are joined by a public audience here in the room with us, and this event is being streamed live to both the Hughes Center and the Press of Atlantic City's websites. So thank you to the viewers both here and at home. Before we welcome our candidates, I want to go over the ground rules. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to direct questions and 30 seconds for follow-up responses as appropriate. All questions will go to all candidates. We want to get to as many issues as possible, so in an effort to keep things moving along, candidates, please be mindful of your time clock and stay within your allotted time. And for the audience here in the room with us, please refrain from any applause until the end of this debate. A big part of the Hughes Center's mission is providing forums for civil discourse and debate, so I want to thank all the candidates for your participation tonight and for engaging with voters. Now, let's welcome the candidates. From left to right, we have Democrat Joanne Famularo, Democrat Maureen Rowan, incumbent Republican Assemblyman Don Guardian, and incumbent Republican Assemblywoman Claire Swift. The order tonight was predetermined with the candidates, so let's begin opening statements, starting with Mr. Guardian.
Thank you. Good evening. Great to be back at Stockton once again. I look forward to answering questions to issues that are critical to people in Atlantic County. 12 years ago, I ran for mayor. I inherited a city that was bankrupt. I was able to trim $40 million a year off of the annual budget. And 4 years ago, I've been very lucky to represent Atlantic County in Trenton. Since cost of living is such a big issue, I've been very supportive of the issues that affect people and help them. So anchor programs, senior free, stay New Jersey, and then direct funding for the boardwalk here in Atlantic City and in Brigantine and in Ventnor. Paving for streets, additional funding for Stockton, additional funding for Atlantic here. I've always been very concerned about voting for bills that are good for Atlantic County. That's what I've always tried to do, putting South Jersey first. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Swift.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's great to be here at Stockton University. I want to thank Stockton for hosting this event. I want to thank our audience for being here. I want to thank my family for being here as well. I'm happy to be running for my third term as a New Jersey Assemblywoman here in Legislative District 2. I'm born and raised here in Atlantic County. I grew up in the Down Beach area. I attended Atlantic City High School, University of Pennsylvania, and I went to law school in Delaware. I came back after law school or during law school, and I clerked for a Superior Court judge. Then I went on to work for the Attorney General's office. I represented DIFUS right in Atlantic City. I fought to protect the abused and neglected children in Atlantic County. I then went on to open up my own law firm in Northfield with my brothers, and I'm happy to help all the constituents here in Atlantic County. I'm most proud of what we have done in the last 4 years of helping our constituents, whether it be help with the anchor program, with unemployment, and I'm looking forward to my third term running with my friend Don Guardian. Thank you.
Ms. Famularo.
Good evening. Thank you, Stockton, for having this and for the press for being here. My name is Joanne Famularo. I'm running for State Assembly to represent the people of Atlantic County. I believe it's time to get back to basics, to rolling up our sleeves, to doing the work that needs to be done. I'm not here to play politics, to get headlines. I'm here to make progress. We need to focus on local issues like ensuring that our citizens receive property relief, that we fully fund our schools, that we replenish our shores, and create opportunities in Atlantic County. My campaign is not about left or right. It's about moving Atlantic County forward together, because when Atlantic County does well, we all do well.
Thank you. Ms. Rowan?
Good evening. Thank you to Stockton and the press for hosting this debate tonight. My name is Maureen Rowan. I currently live in Atlantic City. I am a retired trial attorney. I practiced law for over 35 years. In addition to practicing law, I was the owner and operator of our own law firm, where I was responsible for all aspects of running the business. Although I've retired from the active practice of law, I still serve as a mediator on a volunteer basis for the courts. As a mediator, I'm able to bring people who are on totally opposite sides of an issue together in order to reach a mutually acceptable agreement. As a member of the Assembly, I will use my experience as an attorney and as a mediator to deal with issues such as the cost of living, all with the goal of obtaining results, not scoring partisan political points. I decided to run for the Assembly because I have the experience to make me an excellent representative.
Thank you all.
Ms. Rowan, the first question is for you. If you were elected, what would your legislative priorities be in the coming term?
My legislative priorities would be to deal with the high cost of energy. As we all know, the costs are now crippling for the people of Atlantic County. One of the things that I would propose as a legislative priority is to have the data centers who are increasing the demand for energy at exponential rates, that they be required to have a certain percentage of their own power be produced by them. Another thing would be, New Jersey does export some energy. I would have a legislative priority to make sure a certain percentage of the energy that is exported remain in the state. Thank you.
As a reminder, everyone, please refrain from applause until the end of the debate. We want to keep things moving as quickly as possible.
Mr. Guardian, same question for you.
Sure, so there's no question the cost of energy is on top of everyone's list. We need to find cleaner energy that's affordable. And that means going to places like Salem, where we might be able to build a fourth nuclear reactor. It means about many nuclear reactors that we could be putting up in Forked River at the closed plant, as well as solar energy. There's no one answer, but we've got to be concerned about how we get energy cheap for the next 20, 30 years. Also, you know, it's very important that we deal with the property tax. That's why it's very important that Say New Jersey becomes reality in 2026. And I also think we just need to get more funding from IETs, from the CRDA, that goes directly to building new homes and builds new energy here in Atlantic City. And we need more money from DCA and EDA. They've been into other urban areas, made them successful. We need to be getting that funding right here in Atlantic City.
Ms. Swift, same question.
Same question, legislative priority. Well, I want to continue what we have been doing right now in Atlantic County. We've been helping all the constituents with their property tax relief, getting the sources that they need to get their anchor rebates in effect. We have been going out through the whole county and doing mobile offices. We had one last week in Pleasantville where we saw Ms. Famularo was there. We also have a mobile office in Brigantine. We also provide real ID right at our legislative office in Egg Harbor Township. So we've serviced over 250 people with their real ID, which is a real issue, going to the DMV to get your driver's license. So continuing to help our constituents, continuing to pass bills that are useful for Atlantic County, you know, doing a child tax credit bill that I was able to pass, the underage gambling bill, you know, a bill to get transportation from the airport into Atlantic City, a bill that helps Central Municipal Court. So continue to do what we've been doing for the last 4 years is my priority.
Ms. Famularo, same question.
I think my first priority would be to make sure that North Jersey does not get casinos. If North Jersey gets casinos, it's the last person in Atlantic City, please turn out the lights. Because we've worked hard since 1977 to get where we are, and we can't go backwards. And the Atlantic County economy depends on the casinos. It's the largest employer. Assemblywoman Swift is right. She did see me in Pleasantville when they came to do the program. I'm a sitting city council person in the city of Pleasantville, so I know what it's like to try to get things done and how hard you have to work, and it is very hard and tiresome sometimes. I believe that we should work on solar energy, look for brown sites for landfills to put the solar farms. I think rooftops need to be used.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to have a question on energy policy, so you'll have a chance to address that. This next question. Unemployment is consistently higher in South Jersey than it is statewide, and the region is still heavily dependent on the casino and tourism industries. What steps can the state government take to diversify the region's economy and increase educational, recreational, or employment opportunities for young people in this district? And for this one, we're going to start with Mr. Guardian.
Thank you. So certainly we want to bring an expansion to Atlantic here, to bring the medical center down here for the jobs that they would create. We also want to work with Stockton to have a full nursing school down here. We've had a lot of luck with next generation aviation. That is a great program. We're building the second building now. That needs to continue because it's going to be providing additional jobs for Atlantic County as well. And I think we need to be supporting internet and sports gaming, eventually esports. Not necessarily where they play it, but the support system that goes with it. And we can be a leader because we already have the gaming industry here in Atlantic City. We can't forget about casinos. They provide lots of jobs for individuals and lots of jobs that feed the casino industry. So we need to make sure that they stay healthy and we don't have casinos in North Jersey or Central Jersey.
Same question.
That's a great question, because here we are at Stockton University, and Don and I come here and speak to the students a lot, that you're very lucky that you have a university that is affordable. I know it's not cheap, but you can work and you could go to school. I believe that we're working in partnership with Stockton and Atlantic Care. There's also a teacher shortage here in New Jersey, and what we're trying to do is encourage them to go to school for teaching and nursing, and then when they come out of college, they can have their student loans forgiven, because that's another issue, that we have a crisis in this country. The student loan crisis is literally a multi-billion-dollar industry. So be mindful of what you're doing when you're going to college. Don't have grandmom and mom co-sign your student loans, because guess what? They could potentially lose their house if you don't pay your student loan. So I'm working on legislation that's going to deal with the student loan crisis. But I believe at Stockton you have a great opportunity to continue your education at a reasonable price.
Ms. Famularo.
I believe that one thing that we have to work on to make Atlantic County more accessible is with the airport. That would provide a great many new jobs. We currently have one airline that operates out of the airport. We need to make the aviation department bigger out there, to have schools that can actually come here to teach aviation, to train people in fixing planes. Those kind of things will create new jobs that we don't already have. We also need to make our students in high school either college ready or make sure that they can go into a trade that will provide jobs and security for their families. And once again, back to the casinos, that we need to put a lot of attention into the casinos to make them expand, to create more jobs in the casinos.
Thank you. Ms. Rowan.
As you indicated in your question, the key to getting more jobs is the diversification of the economy. The casinos have been very valuable to the region. However, they can't be the only game in town. You should not put all your eggs in one basket. So we have to explore all options to diversify the economy. Governor Murphy just signed a bill allowing a manufacturing credit, which will attract businesses to set up manufacturing operations. As an assembly person, I would lobby that those manufacturing capabilities come to Atlantic County. And one of the things that we could focus on is the manufacturing of solar panels, because then basically you could kill two birds with one stone. You'd have jobs, manufacturing jobs. You would also be producing something that would help with the energy crisis, and we could also sell it.
Thank you.
On June 1st, electricity rates in New Jersey increased significantly. The average residential customer saw their monthly electrical bill increase by about 17 to 20%, depending on which utility company that serves them. With more increases possible, how would you stabilize the energy prices in the state? Ms. Swift, we'll start with you.
Well, unfortunately, the last 8 years under the Murphy administration, they put all their eggs in a basket, and that was the offshore wind project, which is now no longer happening. They wasted 6 years of our time focusing on offshore wind, and that's not going to happen here in New Jersey. What we need to do is we need to pull out of RGGI. We should not make people have to have electric cars and electric stoves and electric dryers. We need to work with the BPU to see what we can do to lower the utility costs. There's also, going back to the windmills, there's a fund out there that the state put aside for the windmills. We should be pulling that money out of that fund and giving it right back to the ratepayers because of the failed energy policy that the Murphy administration had. They closed 6 facilities, 6 energy facilities, 2 down in Atlantic County. What did they expect was going to happen? We used to export energy, now we have to import it. So we have got to get a New Jersey Energy Task Force to get on this day one after the election in 2 weeks.
Ms. Famularo?
I'm totally for solar. I think we really need to explore that. But we do have windmills in Atlantic County, and about 30 million people see those windmills every year, and they kind of like them. And they're owned by the county because it produces all the energy that the ACUA needs to run their plant. And those 5 windmills produce enough for 2,000 homes. So there is some validity in putting in wind turbines on land. We have to work with the EPA to do that. But we need to have nuclear sites to make our energy. We produce no energy, we buy everything from out of state. We also need to have a board of public utilities that will work to reduce rates, that will also see about reducing cost.
Ms. Rowan, same question.
First, I'd like to address Ms. Swift. She indicated that Murphy failed on his energy policy, but I did not hear her offer any solutions, nor am I aware of any solutions that she provided during her term. And just to be clear, Governor Murphy did not close the power plants. They are private businesses. They closed because they were not making a profit. So Murphy did not close the power plants. They chose to close themselves. As I indicated with the first question, one of my legislative priorities would be to see that these data centers are producing their own energy. It is largely because of the data centers that the demand is so high. We have to address that. These data centers get federal subsidies. They should not be left off the hook. They should be producing their own energy.
Mr. Guardian?
So the crisis certainly is part of the closing of the 6 plants that produced energy that we didn't replace. Short term, we had to take care of people that are poor. So if you're under $42,000 a year, there's a federal program to help make sure that you have heat this winter. Claire and I voted for an additional $25 million in the state to be moved in to help people between $42,000 and $92,000 a year be able to help them. Those are Band-Aids, short-term. Mini-nuclear is certainly where the world is going. We have the ability to produce it right here in New Jersey. We certainly have the facilities for it as well. There's no one answer. Right now, 50% of all of energy comes from gas. 40% comes from nuclear. We got to keep them alive, but we've got to add new types of energy. I'm big on solar energy. I think all new industries should be required to have it. Homes should have the options of whether or not they think it makes sense. And we should be out of RGGI. That'll save $500 million a year directly for our payers.
Thank you. Ms. Swift, you do get a 30-second rebuttal here because you were mentioned by name. If you'd like to take that before we move on to the next topic.
I mean, look, I can tell you this, well, we've been in office, we have done so much to help the constituents of Atlantic County. We help people with your utility assistance, we've helped with the anchor program, we've passed legislation that is specifically tailored to South Jersey. We put Atlantic County first. We're bipartisan, common sense legislators that are doing what's best for Atlantic County.
Please refrain from applause here, everyone. one with 4 candidates, and we have a lot that we need to get to, and it takes quite a bit of time to get through each topic, so please hold any applause. We're going to move on to property taxes. This is a very hot issue for voters. New Jersey's high property taxes remain a top issue. What policies do you support to provide residents some property tax relief? Ms. Famularo, we start with you.
Living in the city of Pleasantville, I know a little something about property taxes and about high property taxes, because I believe we're number 1 or number 2 in the county for the highest property taxes. And the way to lower those property taxes is through shared services. We have made a large inroads in using shared services. Our court system, which was losing about $150,000 a year, we have a shared service with Atlantic City. We didn't lose any of our employees, but we went to Atlantic City and now we have a savings. We also buy all of our fuel for the city from the county, which really is a big savings for us. We have a couple other shared services with Atlantic City in terms of like machinery and things like that. So that's the way to reduce property taxes.
Thank you. Ms. Rowan, same question on property taxes.
Before I answer the question, I think we have to set the record straight. I've lost count of how many times Mr. Guardian and Ms. Swift said they support the anchor, they support the senior freeze, they support Stay New Jersey. However, they voted against the budget that was passed in June of 2025 that funded these programs. So they are being disingenuous. Not only are they saying this to you today, they have a commercial out claiming that they support these programs, but they voted against funding them. So they are not in support of the programs. So I believe that we have to clear that record. As an assembly person, I would obviously fund those programs on a continuous basis. With regards to the property taxes, we have to attract more businesses and that generate income to lower the property tax burden.
Thank you. Mr. Guardian.
I get the rebuttals, you mentioned my name.
Yes, in your response here. We'll allow some extra time if you'd like to rebut the...
So we voted on 3 budgets because they were better for Atlantic County than they were worse. The last budget, there's no way you could vote on it because it was a joke. It provided 4 new types of property taxes. Claire and I have always voted against property taxes. Even the $30,000 raise that every Democratic assemblyman voted to give themselves, Claire and I voted against that. If we voted for this last budget, it would have meant an increase in the taxes for properties when you sold your home. It would have increased tax just on your hospital bed when you were in the hospital. It would have increased internet and sports gaming taxes. So for those reasons, there's no way. It's 100 pages or more every time there's a piece of legislation. You have to look at what's best. All right, back to property taxes. Do I get to start at 60 again?
30 more seconds will start after this runs out. For 1 minute and 30 total.
So talk now?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. So I have to agree, sharing services, great way, this is how to adjust property taxes. Sharing services, 1. Looking at best practices of other states, other counties, other municipalities, also very good. Our school funding just is not developed well, and so all of our towns suffer from it. We need to have a new type of formula. We're spending $13 billion a year in the state to help schools from preschool right through high school graduation, and also the anchor, the savings, the Stay New Jersey.
Thank you. Ms. Swift, your answer to the question on property tax relief, and then we'll allot some extra time for rebuttal as well.
Okay, well, we obviously need fiscal responsibility. We need better leaders in Trenton, and we need a new governor. The state, we need to get the state workers back to work, and there's a lot of waste going on in Trenton. We did support the anchor program, New Jersey Stay. We passed legislation to help veterans reduce their property taxes on their tax bills, helping seniors to stay here. And like Don Guardian said, the school funding is a mess. It is not equitable, it's not fair. It's not fair that some districts get less money because their property taxes are high, whereas other districts, their test scores are low, so they get more money. It's a mess. So when we we're hoping that, obviously, we're going to get a new governor, and things are going to change, and we're going to do everything we can to keep the property tax to a minimum. Regarding the statement that Ms. Rowan said, it's funny how she is criticizing us for voting yes to a Democratic bill in 2022, 2023, and 2024. We voted for the budget. We were the only 3 Republicans that voted for that budget because it brought money in for the Boardwalk Fund, money to Atlantic Care, money to Stockton, the Federal Aviation Park, the Boys and Girls Club. We voted no to the budget this year because all it did was raise taxes. Taxes on real estate, taxes on payroll, taxes on online gaming. How as a legislator in District 2 can you vote to increase taxes on online gaming? It would create job loss, and that's why we didn't vote for the budget this year.
Do I get an opportunity?
One last 30 seconds here, and then we're going to move on to a related topic,
Okay.
to property taxes.
I am definitely not talking about prior budgets that Mr. Guardian and Ms. Swift may have voted for. I'm talking about the budget that was just passed in June of 2026. They voted not to fund Anchor, Stay New Jersey, or Senior Freeze. There's no question about it. They did not vote for it. With regards to these taxes that they're talking about on real estate, what they're referring to that they're so opposed to is the mansion tax. And it's called the mansion tax for a reason.
We're out of time here. We're going to move on to a related topic.
It is a related topic, school funding, which is a hotly debated issue. The next governor could make sweeping changes to school funding in New Jersey, a significant part of the state's budget and a sizable portion of yearly local property tax relief. The amount each school district receives from the state is based on the School Funding Reform Act, which dates back to 2008 and which lawmakers have long criticized for not providing stable funding to districts from year to year. The formula is in its second year of being fully funded. What would you do to change the current school funding formula? Ms. Rowan?
The school funding formula, I heard Ms. Swift say it's a mess, it's terrible, but she offered no solutions. Hopefully she will when she answers the question. With regards to school funding, I know that there are criticisms of it. However, it appears to be relatively equitable. Changes are constantly being made and tweaked. This year in the budget that they voted against, there was 3% was the most that there could be a decrease, and 6% was the most there could be an increase. So that provided more stability as to what school districts knew that they were going to get. I think one of the biggest cost in the education, the school funding formula, is special education. And I think we have to look at that and have some possible revisions about how that should be funded perhaps separately.
Mr. Guardian?
So the point is special needs education. About $100,000 a year to educate a kid if he needs special needs. It's only $20,000 normally. We've reached the point in the state of New Jersey, property taxes can't do that alone. We need the state of New Jersey to pick up those costs. The problem with the funding formula now is every town is given money for special needs education based on a statewide goal. And that doesn't make any sense. It should be on individual schools. We definitely need to keep the limit on both the increase and decreases, but I think everyone agrees that the school funding formula needs to be started from scratch and rethought so that it's fairer across the board. We need to make sure that all of our schools are helped. We want to make sure that we help property taxpayers. The whole concept of sales tax, when it started, was to help property tax and help schools. We haven't done that.
Ms. Swift?
Yeah, I mean, the school funding, it is a mess, because what they're trying to do is just do a blanket approach to this when you need common sense approach to this. You've got to look at everything on a case-to-case basis. Look at each school. Look at what their needs are. Special needs is a big part of the budget, was the formula. But teachers are losing their jobs because the schools can't gauge how much they're going to gain or lose. So that's not fair. That's not a common sense approach to it. What works in South Jersey doesn't work in Central Jersey or North Jersey. It should be fair, it should be equitable, and every child in New Jersey has a right to have the same rights as any other child. And as I said before, their formula is based on the values of their properties. It shouldn't be based on the value of your properties. It should be based on what is needed in that school district. So it should be case by case, not a blanket approach. That is not a common sense approach to this. And we can get there soon to change this formula. I see the time.
Ms. Famularo.
Well, Assemblywoman Swift and Assemblyman Guardian voted against school funding in the last budget. Look, I come from Pleasantville. Our school district, the city of Pleasantville funds it at 8%. The rest, the majority of it comes from the state. There are so many components to school funding that you can't just say, we're going to fund you with this, we're going to fund you with... There is such a convergence of ideas and different matters that go into school funding. Brigantine lost over 50% of their school funding, but they also lost over 50% of their school population. So that all of those things go into school fundings. When you see schools that get funded a lot, that means that they can't fund it themselves.
Thank you. Quick rebuttal from...
Yeah, I mean, Don Guardian and I voted to bring back funding right here in Atlantic County. We brought back about 2/3 of what was lost. So we voted for legislation to bring back funding here in Atlantic County because we do what's right for Atlantic County. Okay? So she's incorrect when she said that.
We're going to move on now to Atlantic City issues in particular. So, unless extended, state oversight of Atlantic City is set to expire next year. Do you support or oppose continued state oversight? Do you believe Atlantic City is ready to manage its finances independently? And if not, what conditions should the city meet before it returns to self-governing? We're going to start with Mr. Guardian on this one.
Sure. So I think it's unfair that the state of New Jersey gives funding to every other urban area without taking it over, but they disenfranchise the voters in Atlantic City by making believe that they get to pick a council and a mayor, and yet the mayor and council has to report to the state. The state approves every project in Atlantic City. I don't think we're ready yet. I think it's very important that we look at what's going to happen with a pilot or casinos funding in some other way, because the taxes in Atlantic City outside of casinos come to $50 million, and the cost to run Atlantic City is $270 million. The last governor and the last Senate president said they were going to bring in the state to lower the cost of government in Atlantic City. They have raised it by $50 million since they've been here. They got to have an exit strategy to leave. Atlantic City's got to be able to run itself, and the people of Atlantic City's got to be able to vote who does it.
Thank you. Ms. Swift.
Yeah, I don't believe Atlantic City is ready to stand on its own. They do need the state oversight. Atlantic City has its own challenges. It needs to get clean. It needs to get safe. And they need to support law enforcement. I don't think I have to tell anybody in this room, when you go to Atlantic City, it doesn't make any sense. There's potholes